What if you were to only inhale, meaning take air in, but never exhale? Is that even possible? Anytime you inhale, you know that there is an automatic process of exhaling. And when there is disturbance in this process, life itself is at grave danger. You inhale oxygen provided by the universe, and you exhale carbon dioxide that becomes life energy for other species like plants. Meaning, with whatever you take in, you give something back. What you give back may be different than what you take and be in a different form, as in the case of breath. We inhale oxygen, but you give out carbon dioxide that is there to help the trees. Why am I talking about inhaling, exhaling, trees, etc.? Because the action of giving back a component of what you take to help this universe is called charity. The aspect of inhaling and exhaling was part of our design. And hence, on a daily operational basis, it is on an autopilot mode. But what about the actions done by you? Do you give back to the universe something that is of value? For some of you, like inhaling and exhaling, the mindset of giving back or charity may be on an autopilot action. If so, you're truly blessed. For many others, we need to develop a conscious effort to make giving back part of our operational life. I have struggled myself in deciding the right way and the right type of charity to be done. For a long time, I was never comfortable with my actions. There wasn't any satisfaction till, of course, I learned about the right way and the right type, and I started practicing them. I'll share them with you. The right way and the right type of charity, including the reasons for doing charity, is what I'll cover in today's video. We will go further into what does right mean. Please remember that to evolve into a spiritual being, charity is a fundamental ingredient of spirituality. Without charity, there is no spirituality. As always, let us get into some grounding of concepts and background. And as always, I pivot it on the Gita and the Upanishads. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, probably considered to be one of the most important scriptural texts, there is a direction or guidance given to individuals of three types: having the attributes of abundance, individuals with ruthless power, and individuals who have a combination of attributes of abundance, passion, and lethargy. You can label these three types of individuals, as the Upanishad does, into godly people who have everything at their command, people of ruthless power or demonic attitude. And when you have a combination of all the three attributes of abundance, passion, and lethargy, then the Upanishad is referring to a majority of human beings. Again, abundance, ruthless power, and a mix of all in some proportion. For the folks with abundance, the emphasis should be on self-control. If you have too much of everything or too much of even something, then you have a tendency to splurge and go out of control. It is like giving a race car to a kid. What we need there is self-control or Dhamma. It's called Dhamma. For the folks with ruthless power, The emphasis is on compassion. Too much power corrupts, and what you need is compassion at every step. This compassion is called daya. And for a vast majority who have a mix of some abundance, some passion, and even some amount of laziness, the emphasis is to give, or dana. These three of daya, dhamma, and dana are fundamental to humanity: self-control, compassion, and charity. While living a life of self-control, compassion, and charity is a matter of how you think and your intellect, it is also a byproduct of your heart. Meaning, it is just not analytical in nature, but has an element of emotion and faith associated with it. Hence, you would have heard the term an individual with a big heart, or phrases like, it is not the size of your home that matters, but the size of your heart. In Sanskrit, heart is also called Hrudayam, made up of three syllables, R, D, and Yam. R meaning to take, D meaning dana, to give, Yam giving it through the knowledge of thought and feeling. Hence it is said, a spiritual being meditates on the heart. Meaning, a spiritual being meditates or is laser focused on self-control, compassion, and charity. If you take a step back and do a self-introspection, you will realize that abundance, power, and accumulation is something you have borrowed from this universe to begin with. In other words, you are not the owner but the custodian. You work hard to increase it, and hence there has to be a way of giving back some of it, and that is charity. These fundamental aspects of understanding what charity is and the basic aspects of the meaning of it is fundamental to understanding the right types of giving and the right way of giving. When we talk about charity, the three ways of charity or three types of charity when looked at it from a righteous context: charity through sacrifice, charity through austerity, and charity through distribution. While charity to distribution is the one that we are very familiar with, the other two are equally or even more important. Let's look at them all. First is charity of distribution. This is what you come across every single day. This is about giving a component of portion of what we have. It is giving through donations, the GoFund campaigns, the check you write, the contributions you make through credit card or cash. The government also recognizes the importance of giving or charity of distribution, and hence when you do a charity of distribution, you also get a tax break in doing so. Of all the types of charity, this is also the easiest, as it takes only a few seconds to do. It is not about how much you have or how much you give. The key is to ask, are you giving a component of what you take? And not, as they say, hoarding it all. Go back to the breath example. It does not help you just to keep on inhaling and hoarding breath. It is not sustainable. You also have to exhale. Similarly, the intent here is to give back a portion of what you think is appropriate. And in cases, for some reason, when you cannot give through distribution, then you can look to give through the other types of charity, like charity of austerity and charity of sacrifice, which I'll cover in a bit. Charity of distribution extends to other forms like partaking with clothing, partaking of goods, usables, and many others, not just money. Let's go to the second type of charity, charity through sacrifice. The Gita puts and guides us to say that every action of ours has to be performed like a sacrifice, meaning it should be an offering that is kindled and consumed by the right type of fire. Take eating as an example. Food is offered to the body and then kindled by the fire of digestion. For food to be consumed and digested, you cannot be overeating or eating improper food, else the food will not get digested. Every action of ours has to be construed that way, the right type, and kindled by the right energy. Charity through sacrifice occurs when you sacrifice some of what you are consuming, but without expecting a transactional outcome from it. In this case, it's about parting some of the food you consume, feeding others. You're giving it purely because it is the right thing to do. The difference between charity of distribution and charity of sacrifice is the mode of charity. In some ways, you could say that the charity of distribution is a bit transactional, while charity of sacrifice is softer on the transactional aspect. It's a bit more emotional. Because sacrifice is parting with no expectation. Parting a portion of your time is an example of charity through sacrifice. You don't give time to a temple because you're doing something for the deity over there. Instead, you give time and serve in the temple as that is the right thing to do. You're serving the community and helping like-minded people come together. Same way, you go and give time in a homeless shelter or a food bank, as that will help the needy and provide food. Ideally, all of these should help you develop a spiritual mindset in the individuals around you, because they would watch your behavior of selfless sacrifice. Charity of sacrifice, which means with no expectation, applies to charity of distribution, where you give a component of it without any expectation. Now, if you feel you're not satisfied with the way your contribution is being used, this is very important, then you need to decide if you're giving it the right way. We will cover the right way of giving later in this video. Let me go to the third type of charity, which is charity through austerity. By austerity, we mean actions and behaviors exhibited through body, mind, and speech. When you serve through cleanliness, simplicity, and non-violence, then that is charity of austerity of the body, meaning you're giving back to the individual or society the aspect of goodness, cleanliness, and making it a better place to live. That is charity of austerity through the body. When you speak with empathy, listen, not be judgmental, and understand the perspective of others, then that act and the decision that you make with that, then that becomes the charity of austerity of speech, meaning through the words you speak, you're giving back so that the other individual or society feels heard. They feel they are being treated fairly and they feel they are included. When you act with an intention of purity, when you act with a steady hand, when you bring order to any situation with your approach, and based on how you think and the thoughts you share, then that becomes the charity of austerity of the mind. Meaning through your thought and behavior, you're giving back so that again the individual or the society can see or feel stability in their own lives or at least work towards that stability. Charity through austerity of body, mind, and speech is what you can adopt in your personal and professional life at every instant. Meaning, it can be embedded in your daily routine and become a foundational aspect of your behavior. Now that we covered the three types of righteous charity, which is distribution, sacrifice, and austerity, now let's go into the ways of charitable giving. What are those ways where you give to charity? Number one, charity always has to be given to a worthy person at the proper time and place. Meaning, give it to a person who is worthy of the cause. If you're contributing financially, as an example, look for transparency. The worth of the cause, and is it being put to good use? The easiest definition of good use is to see if it aligns with the values you believe in, and as long as those values are there to help the broader society. But even then, check for transparency of that particular cause. The second way of doing charity is to do it at the proper time and the proper place. Help someone when they need it the most. Do not overanalyze their need in your own judgment. But as long as there is a genuine need and the individual or the organization is not taking advantage of the concept of charity, then just go give. Meaning, give time to help them or support them financially at the moment they need, at the time they need. The third way of doing charity is to make sure that you're not doing charity to the wrong person or the organization, no matter how much popular they are. The only reason someone would give to such types where you know they are popular but you don't believe in them is because you are not evaluating the cause or you are expecting something in return. Remember, the right way of giving applies to charity of distribution, sacrifice, and austerity, whether you do it through financial support or you give your own time and energy. Let me give a big caveat here. The only area of charity where you don't need to be very stringent is in parting of food. In the case of parting of food, just give. Give it to the one who is in need and also give it to the one who is with you at the table. Lastly, to be at peace when you give, meaning when it has left your hand, then consider it done and do not brood on it. If you feel you did a mistake by contributing to an unworthy cause or individual, fix it the next time. Do not brood on what you already gave. Let's come to one last thing. How much should you give for charity? For the purposes of deciding how much should you give, I look at financial contributions and parting of time in the same bucket. Both are very tangible resources, and hence you can see it from the same lens, financial resources and giving of time. Now, the Gita and the Upanishads do not have any specific assertions on how much to give, as their focus is not to give you a measuring or a rule book, but instead they provide you with a framework. Some of the other later mythological scriptures have specified numbers like give 10% or give 5%. But I am always inclined to take the guidance that aligns to the Gita and Upanishad. To this end, the later scriptures have a guidance to split on what you have into 5 parts. One part is to fulfilling your desires, your responsibility towards your family. One part is towards saving, investing, and growing wealth. One part is towards activities of value that could result in name and fame to you. One part is to the betterment of society, the activities to the betterment of society. And lastly, one part is towards charity through distribution and sacrifice. Those are the 5 parts by which you can decide how much to give, in which bucket. Again, it is not so much about the quantity of charity you make. It is the intent, the type, and the right way that matters. Get started today about having a charitable mindset. I had to be a bit assertive in this video while I described the 3 types of charity and the 3 ways of giving out charity. Because this is such a confused subject and a concept. It is a lot of emotions and guilt that are built when we talk about charity. Being assertive, having a clear framework, being objective in your decision making matters a lot when it comes to charity. Get started today. Do not wait. How about you buy a cup of coffee to that soldier that you see on the road? How about you feed somebody today? Partake at the dinner table with food. Do not hesitate to give something that you like. How about you go and give your time at a temple or at a community center and serve them, not because of the deity that's within in the temple, because serving is part of divinity. It is your moral obligation to give back something of what you take. Don't wait. Get started today. Stay blessed, and I'll talk to you soon.